Hello everyone, this is Mr. Navratil here. In this video, we are going to be covering how to create the screwdriver handle for purposes of 3D printing. And this will be our final project for our Autodesk Inventor unit. So what you see here is just an example of one that I've created. Not everyone's is going to look exactly the same. There are just some things that we all need to adhere to. In other words, constraints. So the overall height of the screwdriver handle is going to be 50 millimeters, and the diameter on the outside is going to be no larger than 20 millimeters, and we're all going to need to create a hole up here for the bit to actually fit into. So let's go ahead and get started on a new file. We're going to come up to File, New, and we are all used to coming over and making sure that English is clicked and going to standard in.ipt. We're actually going to go ahead and switch to metric for this one because some of the measurements are a little bit small. So we'll hit metric and then we'll come over to standard mm.ipt and we'll hit create. It makes a new file. Just like our other parts, we're going to come up, hit start 2D sketch, and we are going to click on the XY plane. For our screwdriver handle, we are going to just kind of stick with some very simple circular shapes. The other handle that I made, I actually started off with an octagon on the bottom. That is going to be totally up to you in terms of the design. You just have to adhere to the dimensional constraints. So for here, the bottom, let's dimension this at 20 millimeters. And there's actually nothing else we can do right now, so we're going to hit finish sketch. Now, what I want to do is draw up and out from this circle, and to do that we need to create another plane to draw on. So I'm going to come over, hit the little arrow next to origin, and I'm going to find the XY plane. I'm going to click on it, and that highlights the plane. Then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on this button that gives us an option to hit offset from plane. So what I want to do is kind of come up halfway of the handle, and the total is 50 millimeters. So for us, we're going to do 25. And what that does is it creates another place to draw, literally above where we drew before. So if we look at it from this view, you can kind of see it better. Here's where we drew before. This is exactly 25 millimeters above that one. So we'll highlight the plane, we'll right click, and we'll hit new sketch. So for here, what we want to do is create a smaller diameter circle. So we kind of create this swooping action. So we'll hit the circle tool, we'll draw directly in the center again, and we're going to dimension this one at 15 millimeters. And we'll hit finish sketch. Now we do need to create the top of the handle, so we need to go off another 25 millimeters. So I will hit offset from plane, click on this plane, and we'll come up another 25 and hit OK. And finally we'll right click, hit new sketch, and we will create a circle that is just as big as the first one, which in this case is 20 millimeters. So if I hit right click and hit finish 2D sketch, you can kind of see where this is going. The new tool we're going to be utilizing is called the Loft tool. It's up here in the top left. I'm going to click on it, and we have to sequentially click these in order. I'm going to click on the bottom, the middle, and then the top, and hit OK. And you can see it fills in material in between those closed profiles. Now, if you don't want these work planes visible anymore, what you can do is highlight, right-click, and then hit visibility, and they will disappear. That is not just, that's not deleting them, it's just making it so you can't see them and they're not in the way. So this is just a pretty rudimentary handle, not too much else going on, but we are missing a really, really important part, which is the hole for the bit. Now, I'm not going to give you the information exactly on the size. You are going to have to try and get those dimensions off the bit itself. But what I can show you is how to make the shape just so that we can extrude so the bit will fit. So I'm going to right click and hit new sketch on the top here. I'm going to start off with a circle. And then what I'm going to do is take the rectangle tool and kind of draw over like this. This is going to give room for the wing tips of the bit to actually slot into our handle. Now again, I am not dimensioning this, so this is totally off. It's not to scale, it's not in proportion, it's not correct, but the overall shape will be. Now what I'd like to do is get rid of some of these lines on the middle because it's going to be complicated when we try and extrude this. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to find the trim tool, and then I'm going to click on the lines that are on the inside of this shape. And what that does is allow us to only leave the one that we want to cut on the outside. I'll hit finish sketch, I'll hit extrude, we'll click there and we'll change this to 20 millimeters. Now we don't want to add this material, we'd like to cut it away. and we'll change the direction so that it goes on the inside. And we'll hit OK. So those are all the criteria that you have to accomplish for full credit on this. Some of the other things that you can take a look at doing, though, is customizing this so it is, in fact, yours. You could use the fillet to round over edges. You could use the chamfer to cut the corner off of edges, which also looks pretty neat. And you could even go as far as writing your initials and extruding that on the bottom so that everyone knows it is your handle. So that is the screwdriver handle that fits the bits that will be given to you, and we will be 3D printing these so that you can keep it yourself.